Hey everyone, Grandmaster Ben Feingold here with the recaps from round 9. Sorry we weren't able to show the round live. Hopefully when we get back from the World Open our internet issues will be fixed. Anyway, first game we're going to look at is Alireza Firouzja versus Richárd Rapport. Let's have a look. They played the usual Berlin. Everybody's playing D3 this tournament, which I've espoused for years. So I don't think that ending gives white anything. So I think this is the way to play for an advantage. You can play D6 or Bishop C5, but in this event, everybody plays Bishop C5. That's more common at the top level. Now here, white normally plays C3. I want to play C3 anyway. Castling's fine. It gives black an extra option, which he took advantage of. He played knight to D4 just to trade pieces, and then this pawn can go to C6 and get sort of a symmetrical kind of position. The bishop obviously is attacked on B5. So knight takes D4, bishop takes D4, C3, bishop retreats, knight A3 instead of knight D2. I guess he wants to let himself play bishop G5 or bishop E3 if he wants to. After knight D2, obviously can't do that. The knight wants to go to C4, C6, bishop A4, D6, bishop B3, queen E7, not too exciting yet. Knight C4. And this is the first point of the game when I was actually surprised about what was happening. This seemed just like normal kind of double king pawn stuff. And black plays bishop C7 basically without thinking. But instead, Rapport decided to go his own way, because that's what he does. He played bishop G4, attacking the queen. We can't play F3. First of all, never play F3. Second of all, the computer won't let me. That's how bad it is. No, it's just because it's illegal. So he has to save his queen, queen E1. And instead of bishop C7, which is still the best move, he played, I don't want to call it a mistake, but I think it's a mistake, bishop C5. And that's a very unusual thing for black to do when a knight goes to C4 attacking the bishop, not just to go back to safety, to hang out on this diagonal when we haven't moved our A pawn yet. So the bishop is sort of, in no man's land. Okay, white played king H1 to get off the diagonal so he can play F4 or even F3. Ugh. A5, giving his bishop a square. F4, that's why you play king H1. A4, attacking the bishop. Bishop went to C2. And here black's already in trouble. He hasn't castled yet. I don't know why the bishop is on G4, so he can get attacked. That seemed like a good reason. So yeah, I don't like this bishop G4, bishop C5 moves that was played by Rapport. B5, and Alireza played a very nice tactic, which doesn't win material. In fact, it loses material, but it gives him a big attack against the king that hasn't castled yet. If I'm black in these double king pawn openings, I try to castle so these things don't happen. He took on E5, a nice Zwischenzug, because he's attacking the knight, but I'm attacking your knight. And then he played the fork trick, which you've all seen many times. Knight takes E5 and D4, giving white the two bishops and the vatals. Also, this king is still on E8, so white can get some kind of attack going. Black decided to win a pawn. Now black has an extra pawn, although his king is on E8, and white has two bishops and all the dark squares in the F file. This bishop is misplaced. So the engine wants to play bishop D2 and then bishop C3. Firouzja played bishop E3, and that's also okay. Rapport figured, I can't castle. My opponent has the two bishops. I might as well be up two pawns. So he took a second pawn. The engine agrees with taking the second pawn. It attacks the bishop on C2. And if white plays a boring move, then I can castle. So he played queen F2. And this is a good move because, I defend my bishop. But this is a good way to defend the bishop, because if you castle now, remember I said if, then white has Then move bishop to d4, and you can see why it was nice that white played queen f2. And this is already winning for white. The engine actually, instead of playing queen b4, just gives a piece away with knight takes. The reason is the bishop on g4 is pinned to the king. Again, bishop g4, not my favorite move. Okay, so instead of castling and losing, black played bishop e6. So now the knight has the g4 square, f7 is defended, the bishop's defended, and if we castle at some point, we're not going to have our bishop and king lined up on this file. Okay, bishop d4, queen b4, white's down 2 pawns, but white has great compensation. The engine says equal, but I think when humans are playing, you want to have white here. I think it's easier to play white. Bishop c5, stopping black from castling kingside. Probably doesn't want to castle queenside. Queen c3, rook c1, rook d8. King and rook, unfortunately, can't seem to get anywhere. Bishop b1 attacking the queen by discovery. Queen goes back to the center. Queen h4 is an excellent move, unleashing the rook. And here, the engine says black is fine. Black just has to chill, and it wants to play the move h6. And white just keeps having compensation for 2 pawns, typical Alireza and Rapport kind of play. And here, black started to play weakly. I don't mean he made a move every week like in a correspondence game. I mean, he started playing badly. Can't really blame the clock. He had more time than Firouzja. He played bishop c4 attacking the rook, which is quite a bad move because it gives away the f5 square that the bishop was protecting. So rook f5. White wants to play e5 and continue attacking. Queen b2 attacking the rook. The engine wants to play rook e1, but he played rook g1, setting himself up for some smothered mate. No, not really, because f2 is defended 3 times, so there's never going to be a smothered mate. Okay, bishop e6, quite a bad move. In this position, the only move to continue playing and not be losing is rook to d2. Counterplay. Activate that rook. And the engine still likes white, but not as much as in the game. Yeah, usually when you play bishop g4, bishop e6, bishop c4, bishop e6, you don't really have the threat of the position down. Okay, he played the excellent move, queen g3, probably overlooked by Rapport because he's attacking the rook. And taking the rook is just too dangerous. He didn't take the rook. But if he does take the rook, I take back, and your king is just wide open. It's, I got you 6 ways from Sunday here. So, and white has the 2 bishops. Black's king is too open. The rook on h8 isn't playing. I don't know what to suggest. I could suggest a terrible move like king d7 so I can escape. But you're not escaping. So yeah, and the engine announces checkmate. So I mean the king can't go that way. So yeah, rook e1 check is coming, and winter is coming. Queen takes g7 is coming, etc. Okay, so yeah, this is completely losing, and Rapport realized that after queen g3. So he played knight d7. This puts pressure on the bishop, and it unmasked the defense of the queen on the g-pawn. Pretty tricky. Those 2700 players are pretty good. Well, white's bishop doesn't want to lose his bishop. That's stopping black from castling. So bishop d6. Once again, if he wanted to, he could take the rook. I think this is even worse than taking the rook in the previous position, because the king is more trapped now. Now rook e1 check is winning immediately. The engine says the best move is rook a8. Yeah, not good. Okay, so instead of winning the exchange but losing the game, he played queen d4, centralizing his queen. White left his rook hanging enough and played rook f1. The king is just completely trapped here. h5, putting it in h. I don't really know what to suggest for black. He can't move his king. He can't move his king rook to any good square. And white's just going to play e5, attacking the g7 pawn, which is what happened. Now we're threatening queen g7, played queen g4. White doesn't want to trade queens. Queen e3, put it in h, queen h5, bishop e4, and this is just a ridiculous position for black. If white had pawns on b2 and c3 and it was equal material, you could see how terrible black's position is. Some people fall in love with extra material, but the extra pawns are meaningless. The two bishops are having their say. The king is trapped. This rook isn't very good. White has the open f-file. White has bishop c6. And once you lose this pawn, you lose all your pawns, assuming you can avoid getting mated. Queen h6, let's trade queens. Queen f3, nope. f6, never play f6, the beginning of the end. He really wants to get his king out of there. And he does. Bishop takes b5, now material's equal. Queen h5. And this position, black blundered, but the engine won't say it's a blunder because the engine says white's +7. So it doesn't really care what black does here. f6 is under tremendous pressure, and the king is never going to be safe, and you're losing your a pawn at the very least. Yeah. So the game ended quickly. If black wants to continue playing, he can play rook h e8 and try to tuck his king away here. But still, with the knight pinned, f6 attack, it's completely lost. Instead, he played knight e5 with the trick that if you take with the bishop, then I have rook d5 forking the bishops. Notice the f pawn is pinned. Well, this still loses to bishop takes f6, but instead of taking the knight, Alireza played an intermezzo, bishop e2. Now the bishop's not hanging after rook d5. So now when you save your queen, then the knight's just hanging. So knight takes e5 is a pretty elementary blunder from somebody as good as Rapport, but Rapport had less than a minute. So, and that was his 39th move. And if he had played perfectly, still would have lost. He moved his queen, and this is move 41. Rapport gets to think now, and he realizes he's down a bishop. The f-pawn's pinned. You can't take the bishop. So black resigned. So an excellent game from Alireza. That's the Alireza that we've been waiting for. You know, the one that plays super sharp, sacrifices material, attacks the king, and wins. By the way, just for those of you who are confused, I'm going to get some comments on the YouTube page like, why not bishop d5? I don't understand. Rawr. There's more than one move that wins, but the simplest is bishop c4, pinning the bishop to the king. Just so you knew that. Bishop f4 also wins, but that's a little trickier. So Alireza wins his first win of the event. Rapport loses after winning his previous round, and the tournament is starting anew for Firouzja. Maybe he can win 5 games in a row. Okay, maybe not, but you know, the way to win 4, 5, 6 games in a row is to win 1 in a row. That's the way to start. This is Grandmaster Ben Feingold. Thanks for watching the recaps here of round 9, an exciting round, and I'm going to the World Open tomorrow with my family. We're going to be playing chess. No more live coverage. Luckily, there's other live coverages if you can bear to watch them. Bye, everybody.